Hi there. Welcome to the second video Q&A that we have had in this course. This one is addressing indexes. I had a question on the boards for some additional explanation of indexes, and I think if I'm quoting right, nothing made sense, period. So we're going to try to come from the beginning and see if I can help you out. I don't know what your specific questions are, so if I don't touch on what exactly it is that didn't make sense to you, feel free to seek clarification on the boards or elsewhere. But in order to understand indexes, of course, you have to understand scales. So let's just sort of start from the beginning. First of all, you have to understand what they're used for. We use these to cover, so that we can make sure we're covering all the different dimensions of a concept or a construct. We usually have to make multiple observations. So, for example, I do child care quality research. I can't just walk into a program and say, wow, okay, is this high quality? There's a box for yes and a box for no. Check one. That's not going to work. I have to have, there's multiple dimensions to quality, and so I have to come in with items reflecting all of those different dimensions. So indexes or scales are appropriate for use for that kind of examination or inquiry. The next question is, which one do you use? Well, we'll get to that. That depends. And I'm referring here to the textbook. I wanted to make sure I didn't come at you with some, giving information from some place that you didn't have access to yourself. There's also the slides on Blackboard, which you can refer to. Indexes and scales are composite measures because of this fact that they look at multiple dimensions of one concept. So they're composite measures. They are frequently used in quantitative research, which is why many of you read in your quantitative articles all about scales or indexes or something that they used to operationalize their variable. That's often what is done. Let's get on with it. I am looking in the Babby text in Chapter 6. I'm on page 154, 155, 156. That's where I'm sort of coming at from for this video Q&A answer. If you've already got that and your questions were elsewhere in the chapter, you'll have to seek clarification from me because I'm just trying to, I figure you can understand the construction parts if you understand what the difference is between the two. First thing to know is that both scales and indexes are ordinal measures. They both, I'm reading from the book, they both rank order the units of analysis. So in terms of what level of measurement, remember that was nominal, ordinal, ratio, or interval, they're both the same. They're considered ordinal data for the most part. There are exceptions to that. They are, the reason they're composite measures is because they the measurement is based on more than one data item. So, for example, excuse me, when I am measuring quality in early childhood, I said I can't go in with my checklist yes or no, so I go in with a scale. The Early Childhood Environment Rating Scale is one that I frequently use. There are also others, the IDERS, the IDERS, the Family Child Care one. So I'm trying to go in there and have, okay, let me start over. So when I go in, I have a whole lot of different things I need to measure, a whole lot of different dimensions to one construct, one concept that I need to get. So I need to get all the information on all these different dimensions, and then I can reduce that, all those different dimensions, into one score, which is what a scale or an index allows you to do. Okay, so you're able to look at multiple dimensions of a concept without having to report multiple dimensions. Okay, so an index or a scale creates a composite measure of what it is you're trying to study. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes my brain works faster than my mouth, so I have to pull myself back. It's a bad habit. Okay, so what is the difference then between an index and a scale? Well, if I were going to go in and measure child care quality, I might have a checklist, and I might assume that the more things I have checked off, the higher quality the program is. Okay, so I could create an index like that. Many people have created similar types of items for parents to use when they evaluate child care. The more things you have checked off, the higher quality it is, period. An index measures individual attributes, all equally weighted. Same thing with an exam. You took your midterm. People who scored higher, I'm assuming, have a greater knowledge of research methods. It's an index. It's a measure of all these different dimensions of this concept that's research methods brought into one little score that I can say, You know, you're getting there or you aren't. Okay, so there's an index. And the example that Babby uses on page 154, just above the blue box, the last paragraph on the left side of the page, right above the blue box, he uses the example of measuring prejudice. Adding up the number of prejudice statements somebody might make would give you an index of their level of prejudice. Okay? So there's the index. Now the scale is a little more sophisticated. It's, many would argue, a better measure of a concept. A scale, and I'm reading again from Babby, assigns scores to patterns of responses, recognizing that some items reflect a relatively weak degree of the variable while others reflect something stronger. And he goes on to use the example of stating levels of agreement to statements like men are different than women. Okay, we might strongly agree with that statement, but we wouldn't necessarily agree with the rest of the things he's coming out with, like women should not be allowed to vote. So we might think there are differences between men and women, but that's a weak measure of sexism, right? Because there could be lots of different reasons why we think men and women are different. It's when we go forward, we would assume then, though, that if somebody says women shouldn't be allowed to vote, that they would have also agreed that men and women were different. It would be very unlikely, if not impossible, for someone to say women should not be allowed to vote and men and women are the same. Okay, so it's looking for a pattern. I wish I could see your faces because I would know if I needed to go on or if you have it there. That's one of the detriments to teaching online. I can't see you, and I can't see the light bulbs that go off over your heads at certain times. Okay, so let's look at quality. In many ways, we assign weights. So this scale here that I would use takes in a pattern of responses. It looks for an overall pattern of higher scores versus lower scores on all these different dimensions. And we have been able to tease out and find that different dimensions of quality are more predictive of child outcomes than other dimensions of child care quality by using a scale and teasing that out. Your book, he uses the example of political activism, whereas an index, we just say how many of these things have you done, and a higher score means more politically active you are. And then another one is a scale, where we look at patterns of responses, and we give different weight to different things. Running for office would have a different weight than voting. But you could probably assume that if somebody runs for office, that they vote. So you're looking for a pattern. And look at the diagrams on page 155, because those are helpful. And if you need to look at them more than once, there's no shame in that. Read it and reread it till you get it. In our example of a test, for example, I chose an index measure for your midterm. However, if I wanted to use a scale, I might look at all kinds of different attributes, different dimensions of knowledge, of research methods, and I might ask you in ways that would look for more of a pattern of responses than just adding up the total number. Because there might be some items that are more important, more weight than others. So you might know levels of measurement, okay, but it might be more meaningful to be able to see that you know what that means, what to do with those different patterns, those different levels of measurement. So I might create a scale that would get to that. I understand the difference between ordinal, nominal, ratio, interval data. Agree to strongly agree. And then I might ask you more specific questions about what you would do with each of those data on each of those levels. And that might be more meaningful, and I'm looking for more of a pattern of response there than just being able to say, you got all 10 of them right. Hopefully that helps you a little bit. If it didn't, please feel free to let me know, and I can do another Q&A, or I can talk with things on the board. Feel free to continue to ask questions, and if something comes up that you'd like a video Q&A for, please feel free to let me know. I'll see you online.